I see that it is 9:00. So, hello. It is May 26, 2023. It is 9:00 in the morning, and we are, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the Wayland Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. And I'm Susan Weinstein. I am chair. Pleased to be joined by Mary Antes, Kevin Goodwin on the phone, and our newest member. Congratulations on your election, John Thomas. Also, Brian Boja and Lynn Poisson from the staff. All right, welcome all. What do we got? Oh, so I need to review the agenda. We actually have two agendas, and I should note that at the top of mine, it says April 26th when it is indeed May 26th.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I corrected it on my copy.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I did on mine too. I guess that makes it official.
Well, it's posted correctly. That's the main thing.
Okay, good. All right. So we have two meetings today. The first is the annual meeting at which we elect our board officers. And then what am I doing here? The second is our regular meeting. So at the annual meeting, we'll have public comment or tenant comment, which I don't understand why we do that. We'll have election of our officers and appointments to town committees. I'm not aware of any topics that we haven't reasonably anticipated. So then we'll adjourn to convene our regular meeting. After announcements, we'll have, I'm going out of order. I guess we just do the annual meeting. And then I have to review the agenda. All right. Well, anyway, so I've called to order. This is the annual meeting of the Wayland Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Are there any announcements? Is there any public or tenant comment? All right. We have 3 positions that we elect.
Chair, vice chair, treasurer.
And vice chair. Okay. All right. So who's currently what? I'm chair. Kevin's treasurer? No, Russ is
No, I'm vice chair.
Vice chair.
You're vice chair. Right. Okay. Is there any interest from anybody in doing any of these jobs?
Well,
I'd be happy to continue if you all want. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, or if somebody else wants the job as chair, I'll be willing to take chair but if you want to continue, that's fine. I'll continue with vice chair.
Okay.
Whatever people want.
This actually ties into the thing about the tenant seat. Brian, the DHCD designated Kevin's seat as the tenant appointed seat.
Appointed, yeah.
And when does that appointment have to take place? At the end of his term or what?
At the end of his term, yes, because his term's not. Kevin, when does your term expire?
I think you said 2024, I think.
Really? That sounds this.
Oh, okay, good.
You have to double check that. So let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to be dumb here. Does that mean I can't run again in 2024 or no?
That is correct.
You'd have to be appointed by. It would be because your slot is the appointed position.
Oh, so I'd have to run again, correct?
No.
You wouldn't be in the town election. You would just be appointed.
Well,
okay, all right.
That's the one where the resident council submits a list of, I don't remember, 5 names or something to the select board, and they choose. For Wayland Housing Authority, my belief is that because the resident council does not cover all of the units, that the ones who are in not covered units, if they're interested, could also submit their names.
Yes.
And then the select board would choose from among the names. It's not a situation that has been contemplated in the legislation. So where there's only part of a housing authority that is covered by a resident association. We love being unique.
Everybody's unique.
Okay. So that's not a concern for this year, which was my concern. I'd be happy to not be chair if you want to be chair, Kevin.
Or if you want to continue, I'll continue to be vice chair.
All right. Well, why don't we just keep things the way they are? Unless
right.
you want somebody, wait, Brian, do you need somebody else to be treasurer?
Well, Russ, I talked to Russ yesterday. I thought he was going to be here today. Maybe he's having trouble getting in, but I didn't ask him if he wanted to be. I assume he wanted to continue as chair. I mean, as treasurer.
Okay. Has he been available when you've needed him?
Yes. Yeah, he has come in. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I move that we select that we approve the current officers as a slate.
Like reelect
The current officers as a slate.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? All right. Well, it being Zoom, we need to do a roll call vote. So Mary Antes,
Yes.
Kevin Goodwin,
Yes.
John Thomas,
Yes.
and I will be a yes. And I appreciate everyone's
Thank
continued
you.
confidence in me,
Thank you, everyone.
however misplaced. But
No, not at all.
speaking of confidence in me, I currently represent, well, on the Affordable Housing Trust, we don't name someone to the committee. We recommend someone to the select board for them to appoint, which is unlike the Community Preservation Committee, where we actually appoint someone to the board directly, or the committee. So I would be fine with continuing. We just had a meeting and they seem to indicate a desire that I continue. So that's always
Yes, Susan
a comfort.
did a lot of work. So I would again move that she be
recommended to the,
recommended to the Board of Selectmen for appointment to the Housing Trust.
now called the Select Board. Old habits die hard. Is there a second on that? Okay, John indicated a second. Is there any further discussion? Would somebody else like to? Okay, good. Let's do a roll call vote then. Mary Antes,
Yes.
Kevin Goodwin,
Yes.
John Thomas is muted.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. He said yes. Good. And I can be a yes too. All right. Awesome. Is there any further business for our annual meeting? Other than the expression of our gratitude and appreciation to the staff?
Oh, thank you. And I express my appreciation to the staff also.
All right. Is there a motion that we adjourn the annual meeting and convene the regular meeting?
So moved.
All right. All right. You got this, Brian?
Was it Kevin and
then
Mary? Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Is there any discussion on that? All right. Mary Antes,
Yes.
Kevin Goodwin,
Yes.
John Thomas,
Yes.
Susan Weinstein is a yes. We are adjourned from our annual meeting, and I will call the regular meeting of the Wayland Housing Authority Board of Commissioners to order. Today is May 26, 2023. It is now 9:10 in the morning. And again, happy Friday. All right. The first order of business for us is that I review the agenda for our listening audience. We'll have announcements, if any, public comment and tenant comment, if any. We have a slot on the agenda always for the Bent Park Resident Council, if they have anything. We'll review our minutes of March 24th, and just to note that we didn't meet in April, and that's why we're not reviewing minutes from there. We'll review the bill warrant for March and for April, and the debit card warrant for March and for April. We'll listen to Brian as he shares with us the insights from the overview of operations, which includes low-income public housing administration, operating budget, tenant account, vacancies, evictions, terminations, and then Section 8, Housing Choice Voucher Program, administration, operating budget, and voucher utilization rate and funding, and the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. We'll then segue to maintenance and capital improvements, including staffing, work orders, capital fund program, doing our civil rights certification, and discussion of the change order for the Bent Park fire alarm devices upgrade. We'll review HUD income limits and most likely vote on many of these things, fair market rents and our payment standards. We'll have our affordable housing update, including Hammond Road. And we'll review some of the things from general correspondence, which includes a thing on the MBTA housing requirement. You have on here? We'll fit it in somewhere, but the approving the contract for writing the new incorporating the HOTMA.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you need to vote on that, but
Oh, it's
I
just
want to make you aware that that's,
okay. I wasn't sure if we had to approve the
yeah.
contract.
Well, you have to approve the revised ACOP, but
Well, when we get there,
yeah.
we have a while.
Yeah. Well, some of the changes go into effect in June.
That's rude. All right, then we'll move to topics that we haven't reasonably anticipated, which so far as I know are none. We'll set our next meeting and then we will adjourn. So, is there any public comment or tenant comment? Hearing and seeing none. Is there anyone from the Bent Park Resident Council, or is there any business of which we need to be aware?
Just make a note that they requested their $1,400 payment. So
Okay.
want to just do a final review of their budget before I release those funds.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue was that the budget didn't add up to the right
Right.
number.
Right.
So we just needed them to correct that.
Yeah.
You know, the categories and all of that we were fine with.
Yeah.
All right.
The last we heard, all of the people resigned. Are they still an organization?
I think they're back. I think they changed their minds again. So they were under the impression that the board didn't approve the budget, which the board did approve the budget. What was reported back to them from one of their members was that the board didn't approve the budget, but we were just trying to get the numbers to work.
Not that we didn't try to make it easy for them. All right. Minutes from March 24, 2023. I think that it would be helpful if in the commissioners present, you noted that Russ was able to participate starting at 9:40. Because if you look and see who's present and then you don't see him voting, and it's confusing until you get to that point where he's noted.
Yep.
I think it'd be helpful to just have that at the top.
And then in 11 and 17, I presume he voted. But he's not listed.
I did say, did Russ vote?
Yeah.
I know, we didn't, for some reason, he didn't come through, or maybe that's an abstention, I don't know.
I think he should be noted. So yeah, put him as an abstention.
Okay.
That makes sense to me. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mary. Was it the March meeting that we were missing some of the budget stuff or the bill warrant or something? Or was that the one before? Maybe it was the one before.
I think it was the one before.
All right. It's a blur.
It's a long time.
All right. So with that single change, Brian, no,
Ooh.
3 changes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you,
Second.
Mary. Any discussion? All right. Mary Antes,
Yes.
Kevin Goodwin,
Yes.
John Thomas.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't
Makes
around.
sense.
So,
Just so you know, you are allowed to vote, but I fully and I don't. If I needed your vote, I would
okay.
say so. But absolutely, you can abstain. And I am a yes. So there we are. Motion carries unanimously with an abstention. All right, next. We got bill warrants. So starting with the one for March 2023, John, our practice is usually that we go through page by page. And if you have an issue on that page or a question, then just say it then. If you miss it, you're not precluded from going back to it. So it's just a way to try and make sure people have a chance.
Okay.
All right. So on the March 2023 warrant in the amount of $81,391.76. Page 1. Dang, that carpet at the bottom of the page. Seems
What?
seems a lot, but is it not?
Well, it's an entire apartment.
Right.
The Contiguous Village apartments, it's living room and bedroom and hallway, so they're usually more expensive than Bed Park.
And was this a turnover?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. Page 2, anything? Kind of boring, frankly. Page 3.
There's a legal bill there, and I think another one maybe in the next warrant.
Yep.
A question about that.
Yeah. KSI Law is handling a complaint, and Mayor Antonellis and Jackwoods handle our tenants' occupancy type legal issues.
All right. Anybody have a problem with the squeegee from Home Depot? Okay, good. Anything on page 4? The only thing was for me, for the NARO, that's a weird number. Is it based on our budget or based on units or something or what?
It is based on our units. Yeah.
Okay. Because, usually it's like 250, 500.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. That's good to know. I probably ask the same question every year. And I've been doing this
Oh, this is a new
more
one.
or less since 1992. So you'd think I would know by now. All right. Anything on page 5?
Yes. Rich's accounting fee. There's a $600 charge for the housing associates, and the only information here is the, I think, interest. And so I guess my question is, are we paying $600 for an amount of 94 cents or whatever it was?
Yeah. I don't know if we can terminate, I mean, it's still a fund. I don't know if we can. We'd have to move those funds somewhere or do something with the funds that are left over in the housing associates.
We talked about giving the money to the trust.
Right.
But
It would
I
have
mean,
to, they would need
it actually is no longer a legal entity.
right.
So is it at the Village Bank?
Yes,
All right. Is Patty still there or no?
yes.
You have her number?
Um,
I mean, don't give it to me now. I was just
yeah, I'll give it to you.
yeah, why don't you get that to me, and also the bank account number.
Mhm.
Okay. I will do that. Thank you. And can we ask Rich to waive it?
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to spend the money down, on his fees. It makes no sense. I mean, I'll ask. I think I've asked him in the past, but because there's really there's
no activity.
nothing to review. Yeah, except for the interest.
I asked, can somebody explain the context of that?
Decades ago, literally, we created a nonprofit called the Wayland Housing Associates, and it was to do construction because it wasn't within the purview of the housing authority.
Mhm.
We needed somebody to do that. The housing associates built the duplex on Millbrook.
Millbrook, yeah.
Who did the
And-
one on Plain?
Well, same. The housing associates did Plain Road also.
And then there weren't things to do. And that money we had from payments from contractors or builders.
Well, actually, what's there now is a donation.
Okay. And then because there weren't things to do, the corporation lapsed. We didn't continue to pay on it. So, I mean, there's probably a process for reviving it, but now we have the trust. So there's not really the Affordable Housing Trust. So there's no reason for the housing associates to be, except potentially one. If the issue was, we thought that we could possibly get around some of the regulations that apply, laws and regulations that apply to public entities like bidding laws and things like that. But because the housing associates was the same people as the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority, it wasn't going to achieve that. So that's why we let it lapse. It wasn't doing what we had hoped it would do.
Okay.
And so there's money there. We have to find out how we can, if it's been dissolved, how can we get the money out and give it to somebody else? Or if we have to do something and reinstate for the purpose of, moving the money.
And how much funds are actually left?
It's about $7,000.
All right.
Okay.
Good question. All right. Well, if I see Rich this weekend, if he won't waive it, I'll kick him in the shin.
You'll go for it.
Okay. And that's a public record. There you are.
Oh my God.
I was kidding. And maybe I won't see him. So there you are. All right. So you're going to ask if he'll waive it.
Yes.
Okay. And page 6 of 6, sorry. Anything? The excitement of the elevator service? All right, is there a motion to approve the bill warrant for March 2023 in the amount of $81,391.76?
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further
Second.
discussion? No. Mary,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
John,
Yes,
Susan, yes. All right. Let's move to the bill warrant of April 2023. I'll say the amount later. Anything on page 1? Anything on page 2? Anything on, are we replacing that 2010 truck?
I want to do that by the end of the summer. It's time for some new vehicles.
Right. That's why, I mean, it's not.
Now that Mark's gone,
Mark was our
maintenance.
head of maintenance,
Yeah.
or senior maintenance person for a long time.
and he's gone, Brian?
He
He
just,
retired. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
like 2 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Page 3.
And that's where the second legal bill was.
Yes.
Has there been a disposition on that?
No.
Okay.
You don't expect one they usually take like a year or so to.
All right. Page 4. I really don't know what at the bottom of the page, rental/cop press jaws means. But it's a plumbing thing.
Look.
Is it the machine for doing the plumbing thing where it, instead of doing soldering, they have this machine, not machine.
Oh, the one that compress the pipe, those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shouldn't be paying for the machine itself, but I'll have to look into that one.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Then it was returned. It was a rental.
Oh,
Gotcha. So it was like a security deposit on the rental.
yeah.
Okay. Didn't see that part on page 5. Anything else on 5? Anything on 6? Is there a motion to approve the bill warrant for April 2023 in the amount of $51,677.18?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Let's have a vote. Mary,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
John,
Yes,
Susan. Yes. All right. Debit card warrant. March 2023.
It's a biggie.
Well, there's certainly a lot of things.
Well, a couple of parties and
Yeah.
advertising for the maintenance position were the big ones. Retirement party.
All right. Does anyone have any questions? I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the debit card warrant for March 2023 in the amount of $2,250.51?
So move.
Thank you, Kevin.
Second.
Thank you, Mary. All right, let's vote. Mary,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
John,
yes.
Susan, yes. Debit card warrant for April 2023. So we had to pay twice for this ZipRecruiter thing?
I mean, that was in my absence. I'll have to check into that one.
Okay. Well, you'll check into it, but we can approve it in the meantime. I'm sorry.
Has the position been filled?
I think we're about to fill it. I was out for a while, had to resume the interviews. We went through a whole bunch of candidates, and I think we're coming close to hiring somebody.
Okay.
Hopefully next week.
Great. All right. Is there a motion to approve the debit card warrant of April 2023 in the amount of $1,128.89?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I should say, I had not heard about that Charlie died. So
Oh, I didn't know.
maybe he's
I'm
all-
sorry. Yeah, it was. I mean, Charlie was great right up to the end. I saw him a few weeks before he died. And, he was great, of course.
I think the
Yeah.
last we talked, you said you had seen him.
Yeah.
All right. So voting on the debit card warrant, Mary Antes,
Yes.
Kevin Goodwin,
Yes.
John Thomas,
Yes.
Susan Weinstein is a yes. All right. I get to stop talking for a while. Brian, Executive Director's Report Overview of Operations.
Yeah, I mean, because I was out for a while, and there's a lot going on. I'm getting caught up with everything. We did a great job with our HUD, Public Housing Authority's assessment system score. So that included the physical inspection that was done early in the year. So we're a high performer. HUD is kicking in more extra funds for the Section 8 program, which really we need, especially if we're thinking about raising payment standards later on in the board packet. But the cost of the program, rental costs are skyrocketing. So HUD's trying to keep up. So it's good that they're aware of it. Of course, John Thomas was elected. He ran a great campaign.
Signs.
There wasn't a lot of rancor.
He ran. That's the thing. Or he accepted the vote.
Yeah. So we're working on dealing with the changes in HOTMA, which is a HUD regulation, Housing Opportunity through Modernization Act, and there's some significant changes for people who with income and assets. So
It's not just regulation. I mean, it's based on new law, right?
Right.
Because it's the act.
Right.
Has anyone found that HOTMA is a hot mess?
The HOTMA what? Hot mess?
Is a hot mess?
Yeah, I think they're trying to.
Kevin, you're very crackly.
Yeah, I know.
I think they try to address problems in the program, and sometimes by doing that, it just makes the program more complicated. And it almost seems like the people who are most affected are people who have some income and some assets, especially in the elderly. So, people who have over assets could be at risk of losing their housing. Of course, I don't know how that's going to happen. You'd have to evict. You're going to evict, 80-year-old people. I can't see that happening. So, but it's probably going to cause some consternation for these folks.
So that there's an asset limitation, but not an income limitation once you get in?
There's maybe Lynn, you could speak to this better than I can. There is both.
The new asset limitation is $100,000. If you have more than $100,000 in assets, then you will not be approved for housing during the initial screening process, as I understand it. They're still developing the policy, and they're going to be putting out more guidance throughout the summer. So there's still a lot of work being done on this. I attended 2 webinars to go through several iterations of it. They're changing a lot of how we handle the assets as far as assessing an interest rate for assets Currently, it's assessed at anything over $5,000. Now it's supposed to be increased to anything over $50,000. And also it's going to exclude imputed asset income for retirement accounts, special needs trusts, things like that. So in some instances, it will help some of our people who have those types of categories, but we have some people who have come into housing and they came in as elderly people and their money was not put into retirement vehicles because it didn't make sense at that age of their life. And so they have more in assets than will be allowed, which is what Brian was speaking to as far as them not necessarily qualifying to remain in housing. So it is my hope in looking at this program that there will be some method to grandfather the people that we already have in the program so that they aren't adversely affected, but I don't know if that's even a possibility. And there's other changes that are being made to how we handle their the calculation of their rent with regard to their medical. Currently, it's 3% of their gross is what they're responsible for in their medical, and then everything else becomes part of their deductions against their total income. But it's going to ramp up to 5%, 7.5%, and then 10% over a 3-year period.
Okay.
This is federal legislation?
Yes, yeah.
So this all has to do with income and assets, correct?
Yes. And
Okay.
eligibility.
All right.
Eligibility for housing, initial housing and continued occupancy.
And if you didn't happen to catch it, there's a highlights of final rule implementing sections 102, 103, and 104 of HOTMA in our packet. I thought it was interesting that increases in earned income are not processed until the next annual reexamination.
Right. There's going to be a lot of issues around that as well, but
No
those weren't the
interim
ones that
adjustments.
were as most concerning to us as far as, whether someone still qualifies or doesn't qualify. It will basically modifies pretty much everything that Catherine and I do with related to processing rent reviews and income. And so
once someone is in housing, they couldn't create an irrevocable trust and exclude those assets because it says that those are excluded.
I suppose people could attempt to do that, but like I said, they haven't given all the guidance that surrounding every aspect of this just yet. This was like the initial training, so I don't know where we would urge people to, let people know what's going to happen and then let them take some steps to preserve their tenancy if they can.
You have any idea of the number of people that would be affected?
I do. I'm guessing at this point, I'm not 100% sure, but about 14 or 15.
Wow. And making a trust.
Lynn, what would be for those number of people? What's the sticking point? Is there one, or is there like a common particular asset? You know what I mean?
If they have, say, an investment brokerage account instead of a 401k or, IRAs or any of those, if their money is in other than retirement vehicles or 529s, for like children in the family or something like that, 529s will be excluded, and retirement type accounts are excluded. And trust, like a special needs trust, doesn't count now because Massachusetts put that into effect a few years ago, whereas now this is federal is saying that the trusts are not, special needs trusts are not included, because we do have some people that have that type of vehicle. So we don't count that at all. Even the distributions from a special needs trust are no longer accountable as far as income.
Well, good.
So that went into effect in Massachusetts several years ago. I'm thinking 4 or 5 years ago. So we've already been doing that
Why would we be doing that? We're subject to federal.
because it was a Massachusetts law. And we were required to follow it. With the special needs trust, not counting them as income, their distributions as income anymore. So we did do that.
You're wondering, Susan, why would state law supersede federal? Yeah.
But I like the outcome, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Right. It seems like the equitable thing to do.
Isn't that how law works? It's how elections work, right? All right. Well, Lynn, I assume you're going to be doing a lot of trainings, and I don't assume that there's anything we can do to support you in implementing these new things, but we appreciate it. And,
Thank you.
And I think it's, they say they're trying to make things easier for housing authorities. I mean, it seems like some of it is less effort, but some of it, to me, there's less accountability, and I don't always love that. Less accountability of the tenants.
Right.
They always give us the carrot, and then there's a big mallet at the end.
Well, as long as they don't cut subsidies, then
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, they're not the ones who have to say to some elderly person, sorry, law changed, go find something else.
Yeah.
So we will let us know what we can support to alleviate those kinds of issues for our.
And we're gonna engage Minette Donovan, who is she's very she's like a professional. She's very involved with NARO. She's on top of all that stuff. So we might organize a group of smaller housing authorities out here in this area and have her come out and we'll go over our ACOPs and policies and procedures.
Yeah, John, we don't get involved in things like tenant certification, but we need to set the policies for them. And most of the time, we have to adopt what HUD tells us. Occasionally, we have choices. But there's not a lot that we would do. But if there's an issue about legislation and you as a private person want to get involved in that and voice your opinion, whatever, then that would be your opportunity.
Yeah, and financials look good.
Yeah.
Our,
The rents and the interest
yeah,
are shockingly up.
yeah. Well, interest is up, so for better or
Yeah,
for
but
worse.
almost double the budget to date.
Yeah. But even looking at some of the like the Affordable Housing Fund. I mean, there's a big chunk of money is coming from interest now. So it's interesting what interest rates do. I mean, it's good for revenue, but it's not so good for mortgages and things like that. But
Right. It depends on which side of
it
the.
depends. Yeah. But
I'm curious if the current deficit in the payment in lieu of taxes line is because the income is higher than we had projected.
yeah, and it's divided by 12 months. So yeah. In our tenant account receivable, it's about the actual number is 4.31%. So that's a really good number. Betsy's good at getting people to pay and enter into repayment agreements. Turnover is Lynn's doing a great job. Maintenance and in administration doing great. 16 days is the average turnover time.
In case you all are trying to keep up, that's the vacancy ledger. Brian, you totally skipped over the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program budget comparative. And I just wanted to comment that the interest there is shocking because budget to date is 375 and the actual to date is 1,741.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't understand why there's no money in the Ross FSS. Didn't we get a grant?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. We've talked to other housing authorities, and none of the housing authorities with the FSS programs have gotten their allotment. I haven't been able to draw down any funds from HUD for the FSS program, and that's since January 1. So I
They've
don't.
been busy with HOTMA.
Yeah, and I know the debt ceiling, or they got to find the money somewhere. I don't know, but it's a little unusual. I haven't seen that before, but it's a common experience.
Okay, and tenant account receivables, weren't we down to 2.9 or something?
Yeah, I mean, it jumped up a little bit, but it's still a very good number. As long as we have, updated repayment agreements, we're in good shape.
Right. And the vacancy ledger, the two that have high numbers of maintenance days, were those long-term tenants?
Both of those, yeah, they were like 30 years probably, 20
And they
or
were
30 years.
smokers.
One was a smoker, one was not.
No. Well, that's not what it says. If you look at the one that's, let's see, number 2, the maintenance days is 27. And number 4, the maintenance days is 22. All right.
Yeah, the second vacancy was a smoker, but the other one, did I put it list her as a smoker?
Yes. Okay. John, within the past 2 years, I don't know, in recent history, we adopted a rule of no smoking in your apartment. So that's why we track that.
Okay.
And not in terms of enforcement, but we do see that our the amount of work that we have to do on turnover to the next tenant is always higher when it's a smoker unit.
Okay.
And the next thing is,
I'm sure there are exceptions, but
yeah.
okay, sorry.
So this is the FAS report. So that the FAS report looks at the physical facilities, financial management, capital fund. So we're a high performer there. So that's great.
And just so if you all are not catching it's the public housing assessment system. The PH is a sound, right?
Silent. Yeah.
Why did we only get 37 on the physical? No, I mean, did they tell us what we were marked off for?
What do you see in the physical?
Physical, PHAS indicators, score 37, maximum score 40.
Yeah, we were in 100%, but we were close.
I know, but did they tell us why?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. And we can fix those
Yeah.
things.
We've already fixed most of that.
Okay. All right. Section 8, Housing Choice Voucher Program, ACC projection.
Yeah, we have 81 allocated vouchers and 79, and Catherine has several vouchers that are out in the street we're working on. Hopefully they'll get leased up.
Well, for a while, we were approved for one number,
78.
and we were using one more than that.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
glad that equaled out.
Yeah. And you can see up in the middle of that grid, the additional funds from HUD, 463,000 for June through September, and 115,000 for October. So we now have a $2 million Section 8 voucher program.
That was
Yep.
and so if you flip the page over and you look at the total program cost in the middle box on the bottom, is the program cost reflective of us having more units or because of the increasing rent levels?
I think it's the rent levels have been going up. let's see. Well, we started out with 119,000 in January. Now we're up to 127,000. So I think it's mostly because of increases in rent. All the landlords are looking for rent increases because it's like a feeding frenzy.
Right.
There's really no reason for it, just that they want to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
All right. Seems to me that a lot of the next stuff, unless you want to talk about the game board, but probably not necessary. The letters from HUD that you already referenced, the THAS, the CMAP.
Yeah, CMAP, they gave us a high performer on that too. So we're cruising here at the WHA.
Knock on wood. All right. Anything
If we
further
had
to
a
talk about?
newspaper, If we had a newspaper, we could put information in the newspaper.
Yeah, I really
Good
miss that
job we're
newspaper.
doing.
I assume we don't need to talk more about HOTMA right now unless people have questions or comments on that page. You're getting on board with Manette.
Yes, yeah.
Just so you know, I was thinking, I'm fine with it, approving that as long as there's attention to detail, because I hate having to rewrite what these people write. And then I looked at the client agreement and number 2 has a typo. Come on. So you can tell her that. The word is today, not toady. All right.
You don't like toady?
I do like toady, but not there. And I wasn't even reading closely. Oh, all right.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I'm sure she'll appreciate it. Maintenance and, are we ready for that?
Sure.
Okay. You already mentioned that we're close to hiring someone. Thank you to Juan for holding down the fort.
Yeah.
Do we just, I don't know what the verb is. Do we approve the civil rights certification? Do we certify the certification?
I
Do we
think
adopt?
certify. Yeah, I get whatever you desire.
Approve submission. No. Anyway, I guess approve the certification. We have to have a motion and a vote, but if you want to discuss it, we can do that too.
Move that we approve the certification.
Thank you. Anybody second?
Second.
I could,
Thank you. All right. We do those things and we just have to say that we do it so we can get the money. So, because it's all part of our plan, right? There's
you
been a
need to
motion.
vote?
Huh?
You need to call the vote?
I was just saying there's been a motion and a second.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
let's vote. Mary Antes,
Yes.
Kevin Goodwin,
Yes.
John Thomas,
Yes.
Susan Weinstein is a yes. All right.
Susan, I'll PDF that form to you. It's for your signature.
Okay. The work orders, I just want to say I don't understand the math on work order by priority, where the vacant units, the total days is 2908. Is it because there was an overlap in the days and it only counts as one? But at the thing we were just looking at on the vacancy ledger, the maintenance days were 27, 7, and 22. And that doesn't come out to 969 as an average. The total days should be 56.
I'm trying to think. I think some of these work orders, when they count when in the year that they were completed in, so that if they're completed in January, they make this report. I have to look at that. That's good.
Because it says 3 and you can count 3 on the vacancy ledger.
Yeah,
The fourth one has 0 maintenance days, so it doesn't need to count.
right.
So you know what?
It's not done though. No, those are completed work orders. Yeah.
Yeah. So that doesn't average correctly.
Yeah.
So if you could check that now.
Let me check into that.
Yes, please. And I wouldn't have noticed it, except for that those numbers were big.
Yeah, the 29. Yeah.
All right. We need more money for the Bent Park fire alarm devices upgrade. Because we need to do something we didn't anticipate.
We had to remove an old panel, radio panel. Yeah. And so the engineer approved it. That was a submittal. The engineer approved it. And it's relatively small amount. And that's been the only change order so far. And they're almost done.
And they didn't charge us labor for this. No, they didn't, which is great. It was just materials.
Okay.
So you all okay with that? We need to vote on the change order.
Change order number 2.
Change order number 2 in the amount of $2,721.51. That one?
Yes.
Okay.
Move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right. Voting by roll call. Mary,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Susan, yes. Okay. Okay, income limit stuff.
HUD just released their new income limits. They have increased them. You have no choice but to approve them.
But see, this is where I don't understand, and I guess maybe I need to come in and talk to you all, but it says income limits do not have any bearing on tenants once they are leased in the housing authority.
Well, that's going to change. That's, with Hotma, but
Oh, okay.
that's
That's
how
why I
it's
was
been,
confused
yeah.
earlier when Lynn was talking about having to.
Right.
Okay.
Because prior to Hotma, there was no income limit.
Okay. Which doesn't make sense to me anyway. But it is hard to ask people to leave and then to make them do it.
I can't imagine.
Is there? I mean, but. All right. Sorry. I think that the irrevocable trust can come into play here. All right. Is there a motion to approve the HUD income limits effective a couple of days ago?
Move.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Mary,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Susan, yes. Fair market rents and payment standards.
Yeah,
Did everybody get a chance to read the information from Catherine and Brian? The idea is that we're running behind other housing authorities
in the area. I mean,
and
we
we're not-
struggle
and
with
we're not
this.
doing any, and we're doing a disservice to the Section 8 holders.
Right. I mean, we struggle with this because, we become part of the problem that we're pushing up monthly rents, but it's a factor, but it's not the main factor. But we have to keep up with the times and make sure our Section 8 voucher holders can have a viable chance of renting units.
I had no idea we had so many rental places in town. So thank you for the listings. So the proposal or the request is that we increase the payment standard effective July 1
July 1, yeah.
to 107% of
The FMR,
fair market rent.
yeah.
So move.
Thank you, Mary. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, Mary,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Susan, yes. John, I feel like we're zipping through things and you maybe don't have an opportunity to ask questions, but if that's the case, we can answer questions or else we can, you can ask Brian later, or you can ask me later, whatever.
Oh, I'm keeping track.
Okay, good.
I'm
Affordable
trying
housing.
not to bog down proceedings this morning, but
Well, I've done it, so.
people will be hearing from me, I'm sure.
Well, thank you for playing along. We appreciate it. The affordable housing update.
We have a bill warrant, just $600 for the accounting fee.
All right.
So anybody want to move to approve that?
Move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second? Yeah, we'll have to explain the arrangement about Hammond Road. Kevin, do you second?
Second.
Thank you. All right. Mary,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Susan, yes. All right.
And as far as Hammond Road goes, the collections are fine. I don't know if you guys want to talk about 12 Hammond Road, progress on that, or other affordable housing stuff.
Hammond Road, 12 Hammond Road, the progress is that we're issuing a request for proposals for the construction. But Mary is not out yet?
I don't think so.
Yeah. But we've had all sorts of issues and finally got the support that we needed from the town in terms of getting bids. And it turns out we don't get bids, we get proposals. Which is significantly less onerous for some reason. And if you want to know more, you can talk with John Bugby or Mike Stady.
Just too bad they didn't say that a year ago.
Yeah, no kidding.
We
So
have one resale at the Nike site that's just about to pop. I'm waiting for DHCD to issue the resale letter. I submitted a proposal for the resale price, and I talked to them this morning. The letter should come out on Tuesday, and we'll begin marketing that unit for an affordable housing lottery at the Nike site. So
Where are
another
those-
Nike site unit resale. That's where they're all coming from.
What are those going for now?
It'll be just under $200,000.
Okay.
the other news from the Housing Trust is that we have launched Affordable Homeowner Repairs Assistance Program. But if anybody sees this and wants to apply, please do not submit financial information over email. We'll get it from you later if you qualify otherwise. We need to update our forms that we just put up. But we would like the Housing Authority the Housing Trust would like the Housing Authority to do income verification or eligibility verification for us. And the trust will pay for, a competitive rate or whatever.
Appreciate that, yeah. I mean, I'd love to see if we get the capacity for doing this. I don't know how many applications are going to come in, or we'll have to play it by ear.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's for, I mean, it's not for cosmetic things. It's for, if you have issues that affect health and safety. It's not to cover condominium fee. It's not to cover, your ordinary expenses. It won't cover mortgages, things like that. It's not a full payment program. It's to help support people who are living owner-occupied units. So they have to give some to the repair or improvement, whatever it is. If it's under $7,500 or $7,500 or under, it's a grant without a requirement of repayment, although we would certainly appreciate it at some point. And if it's over $7,500, then it's a non-interest bearing loan that is payable, if they sell the unit, if they remortgage and get cash out of it, if they die, So there's like 4 or 5 reasons why it would become payable.
And you have to be income eligible.
And you have to be income eligible. And actually, yes, you do. And but it's at 80%.
Mhm.
But if we have 2 competing applications and one homeowner is 80% and one is 60%, we'd be more inclined to give to the 60% person. We consider applications 4 times a year. And you'll find the information on our website. But again, if you get it from the website, on the town website, please do not send us financial information through the email.
Mhm.
I actually did reach out to the Secretary of State's office about how we can run this program and keep people's information out of public records. There is a privacy exemption, but that's for when someone requests it. We're trying to figure out how we can actually get this information without having people divulge. But I mean, the simplest thing would be to, cross out personally identifying information, particularly Social Security numbers and bank accounts. Things like that. Just cross out account numbers. But again, please don't send us your financial information yet.
And how much do you have to hand out from that account?
Did we set a limit of 100,000 a year, Mary?
Well, I think we've talked about it. I don't know if there's been an official vote.
Yeah,
I'll have to
I
vote.
think what is that it's a guideline for us that we're not necessarily gonna stick to 100,000 if the needs are greater, but we're not building more, we're not buying and building, so we just have to try and make an impact how we can.
This is coming from your general fund or whatever you call it versus your earmarking. You're getting a certain amount.
Yeah, the trust has income, some of which is from the Community Preservation Fund. And that we can't use for this program unless the unit was constructed or acquired with community preservation funds. So for something at Nike, we could use community preservation funds for that. But anything else, we can't. And the other money we have from builders' fees and things like that. But our income now is almost exclusively community preservation and interest. But we have $1 million, so we got to do something with it. So that's your update there.
Thank you.
In the general correspondence, woohoo, $334 from MIIA. The ones from HAI Group are much more interesting, if that's what you wrote here at the bottom.
Yeah.
We got 12,000 in dividends.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Well, let's do that. Thank
Quick
you.
question. Did we handle Catherine's request? The memorandum
We
sheet?
did. That was
Okay.
the fair market rent.
FMRs, yeah.
We
Okay.
approved 107%.
All right. Thank you.
I do like this idea of splitting DHCD into H and CD,
Yeah.
or ED as the case may be.
Well, it's
Oh.
interesting. We were a secretary when they started out. It was the executive office.
Good, thank you very much.
Sorry, the dogs think that the doorbell was here.
So so initially it was the executive office of community development. Then they downgraded us to the Department of Housing and Community Development. Now we're coming back up to a secretariat position. So should have been, it's a little bit late, but should have been up there all along. But it's good to have a secretary position. So
Yes, absolutely. I feel like the ZBA, I'm sorry, the MBTA zoning thing requires more of a discussion than we
Yeah.
have time for now.
yeah,
So if we want to discuss it, let's put it on the next agenda.
okay,
Ain't much happening. It has to be at, a town meeting before the end of 2024.
Yeah.
And then thank you for this information on the housing those most in need from NARO.
yeah.
When shall we, however many people, meet again?
I have a quick question before we decide when we're
Yep.
gonna meet.
Yep.
Has any thought been given about where we can meet in person again? Has any thought been given to that? Going back to in-person meetings?
The only thing is with in-person, it would need to be in the evening.
Okay.
If
That
people
I
are
know.
okay with that, then, we can certainly have some. So we used to say the fourth Thursday of the month. If we wanted to, well, do you guys want to meet in person or do you want to continue on Zoom? Why don't we go ahead and try one in person and see how it goes? And then we can alternate, or we can decide we want to do one or the other. So would we be able to meet in person at 6:30 on Thursday, June 22nd?
I can do that.
Will that be a town building or in one of our developments?
I thought it would be CVA, but
You would do CBA, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
unless you want to do the other one.
CBA is good.
Okay. John, you okay with that?
At 6:30 on June 22nd.
Yeah, at Constituent Village Apartments.
Or
All right. It's a do.
Okay, and we'll see how it goes.
Exactly. Got to make sure
All
that I get there.
All right. Right.
I was trying to decide if I could make it 6, but I can't. Can't promise that I would be there then.
I wouldn't be able to do 6.
Okay, good. Then it's not just me. Whew. We said 6:30, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All that being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. A motion to adjourn at 10:14 a.m. Mary,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Susan, yes. Thank you all very much. Have a lovely
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Looks like a good one.